The date is August 29th, 1992. Wembley Stadium reverberates with the thunderous roars of over 80,000 wrestling fans as Crush makes his way to the ring at SummerSlam, slated for a showdown against the cunning and elusive Repo Man. The Hawaiian powerhouse towers over his opponent, his muscular frame adorned with vibrant neon ring attire that perfectly captures the excess and pageantry of wrestling's golden age. Crush wastes no time dominating the match, his strength unparalleled. The crowd rallies behind him, a collective force urging him toward victory. The devastating cranium crunch, his signature maneuver, clamps down on the Repo Man's skull like a hydraulic press. The villain flails, struggles, and ultimately succumbs. The bell rings, the audience erupts. For that moment, Crush is on top of the world. He is the future, a rising star, poised to elevate the Federation into its next era. But in the world of professional wrestling, the future is never promised. Fast forward 15 years, and the headlines tell a story far removed from the grandeur of Wembley. On August 13, 2007, the man who once electrified the wrestling world as Crush is found dead in his Florida home, a tragic, untimely demise at just 43 years old. The questions linger. What happened? What forces led this once promising star down such a fatal road? To understand the tragedy, we must first return to the beginning. Born on April 14, 1964, in Kona, Hawaii, Brian Keith Adams grew up in an environment where strength and physical prowess were celebrated. The island culture, with its rich tradition of powerful warriors and athletes, seemed to shape his destiny from an early age. Standing at 6'6" and weighing over 300 pounds in his prime, Adams was a natural athlete who excelled in multiple sports during his youth. After finishing high school, Adams enlisted in the United States Air Force, where he first discovered and refined his boxing skills. But it was professional wrestling that captured his imagination, offering a perfect blend of athleticism, showmanship, and the opportunity to travel beyond the confines of his island home. Adams began his wrestling training in 1986, learning the ropes in Japan under the tutelage of Antonio Inoki, one of professional wrestling's most respected figures. This experience would prove invaluable, as the strong style of Japanese wrestling helped Adams develop both his in-ring abilities and the mental toughness required to succeed in New Japan Pro Wrestling. In late 1987, Adams debuted in Pacific Northwest Wrestling as the American Ninja, engaging in a heated feud with Super Ninja that ended in a loser leaves town victory before he briefly made his way back to Japan as the Midnight Soldier. After stints in the short-lived Oregon Wrestling Federation and Continental Wrestling Association, he returned to the Pacific Northwest in 1989, aligning with Lord Jonathan Boyd and later forming the Wrecking Crew alongside the Grappler. His tenure saw him claim the heavyweight championship in 1990 before dropping it to Scott Norton, solidifying his reputation as a formidable force in the territory. Adams' imposing physical presence and surprising agility for a man his size eventually caught the attention of wrestling's biggest promotion, the World Wrestling Federation. When Crush debuted in 1990, the company was riding high on its golden age, dominated by larger-than-life characters like Hulk Hogan, The Ultimate Warrior, and Randy Savage. Initially, Adams was positioned as the third member of Demolition, utilizing the Freebird rule to defend the Tag Team Championship alongside Smash, serving as a substitute for Axe. He made his in-ring debut in a successful title defense against the Rockers at SummerSlam. Demolition lost the Tag Team Championship to the Hart Foundation in a grueling 2 out of 3 falls match, with Crush taking the decisive pin. Following their title loss, the team's focus shifted to an escalating feud with the Legion of Doom, who had interfered in the championship match. Adams remained with Demolition until WrestleMania 7, where he and Smash suffered a loss to Genichiro Tenryu and Koji Kitao. After the event, the Federation gradually phased out Demolition, officially disbanding the team by September 1991. However, it was when Crush branched out as a singles competitor that his true potential began to emerge. Repackaged as a happy-go-lucky Hawaiian babyface, Crush connected with audiences through his impressive power moves and charismatic personality. His signature finishing move, the cranium crunch, became one of the most devastating maneuvers in wrestling, as he would trap his opponents in a vice-like head squeeze that appeared to render them unconscious. As highlighted earlier, Crush made his pay-per-view debut under his new persona at SummerSlam, securing a decisive victory over Repo Man, ironically portrayed by his former Demolition partner, Barry Darsow. The early months of 1993 saw Crush enter into what would become one of his most memorable feuds, facing off against Doink the Clown. What began as a simple rivalry took a dark turn at WrestleMania 9, where Doink's infamous double-team attack left Crush on the losing end. Then, at the inaugural King of the Ring pay-per-view, Crush challenged for the Intercontinental Championship against Shawn Michaels, only to fall victim to another defeat after a well-timed distraction by Doink. On July 4th, aboard the USS Intrepid, Crush took part in the Stars and Stripes Challenge, attempting to body slam the colossal Federation champion, Yokozuna, who was billed at 580 pounds. Widely regarded as the strongest contender, he became the first to lift Yokozuna off his feet, but the immense strain caused his back to give out, forcing him to abandon the attempt. Crush's misfortune continued on Monday Night Raw, where Yokozuna delivered multiple punishing bonsai drops, writing Crush off television to recover from his injury. Crush made his dramatic return 3 months later, betraying his ally, Randy Savage, in a brutal attack fueled by resentment over Savage's encouragement to enter the Body Slam challenge and his absence during Crush's recovery. Gone was the smiling Hawaiian warrior, replaced by a bitter, vengeful heel who had aligned himself with Mr. Fuji and Yokozuna. Now a ruthless native chief, Crush adopted a more menacing look, sporting a goatee, darker face paint, and an ominous color scheme that contrasted sharply with his former Kona Crush persona. This transformation culminated at Survivor Series, where he headlined as part of the Foreign Fanatics against the All-Americans. Crush's Falls Count Anywhere battle against Randy Savage at WrestleMania X stands as perhaps the pinnacle of his Federation career. Though Crush would lose the match, his performance cemented his status as a legitimate pay-per-view player. As Mr. Fuji's hired enforcer, Crush aided Jeff Jarrett in a King of the Ring qualifier by ambushing Lex Luger, leading to Luger's count-out loss on Superstars. Seeking revenge, Luger returned the favor by costing Crush his own qualifier against Tatanka, sparking a heated feud. During this rivalry, Crush formed a short-lived alliance with Yokozuna before quietly exiting the Federation after a series of European matches against The Undertaker. On August 13, 2007, Bryan Adams was tragically found dead by his wife in their Tampa, Florida home at just 43 years old. The medical examiner ruled his death the result of a lethal interaction between the painkiller buprenorphine, the muscle relaxant carisoprodol, and the sedatives chlordiazepoxide and alprazolam, each at therapeutic levels, but together suppressing his respiratory system fatally. His passing marked yet another sobering loss in professional wrestling, a stark reminder of the physical toll and pharmaceutical dependence that haunted many of its warriors. As we look back at that summer night in Wembley Stadium, we see a performer who had achieved his dreams of wrestling stardom, yet whose greatest battles would take place far from the spotlight. The story of Crush remains a compelling reminder of both the glory and the darkness that can exist within professional wrestling and the thin line that sometimes separates them.